Hello, and welcome back to Fluent English in Minutes. Today, we are going to build your advanced English vocabulary in a calm way, a simple way, and a practical way. This is not a lesson where you only memorize difficult words. This is a lesson where you learn how advanced words live inside real conversations. You will hear them. You will repeat them. You will use them in simple sentences. Then you will hear them again inside short dialogues and natural speaking practice. By the end of this masterclass, you will not only know more advanced words, you will also understand how to use them naturally when you speak about your daily life, your work, your feelings, your opinions, your plans, and your experiences. This lesson is perfect for B1 and B2 learners, for learners who want to sound more confident, more natural, and more mature in English. You do not need to understand everything perfectly the first time. Just relax, listen carefully, repeat softly, and let your English become stronger. Step by step, in today's lesson, we will learn advanced vocabulary through 5 real-life themes. First, words for clear thinking. Second, words for daily communication. Third, words for emotions and personality. Fourth, words for work, study, and progress. And finally, words for deeper conversations. This way, you are not learning random vocabulary. You are building useful language, language that you can actually use. Let's begin gently. The first word for today is precise. Precise means exact, clear, and careful. When something is precise, it is not vague. It is not general. It is specific. For example, you can say, "Please give me precise instructions." That means, "Please tell me exactly what to do." Another example, she gave a precise answer during the meeting. That means her answer was clear and exact. Repeat after me. Precise, precise. Now repeat the sentence. Please give me precise instructions. Again, please give me precise instructions. Good. Now listen to this daily life example. When you are learning English, try to be precise. Do not only say, "I want to improve." Say, "I want to improve my speaking." For daily conversations, that is more precise. Let's practice. I want to be more precise. When I speak, I want to be more precise. When I explain my ideas, I want to be more precise in English conversations. Excellent. The next word is vague. Vague means not clear. If something is vague, you do not understand it completely. The meaning is weak or unclear. For example, his explanation was vague. That means his explanation was not clear enough. Another example, I have a vague memory of that place. That means you remember it a little, but not clearly. Repeat after me. Vague, vague. Now repeat. His explanation was vague. Again. His explanation was vague. Good. Now compare these 2 words. Precise means clear and exact. Vague means unclear and not exact. Listen. A vague answer, "I will do it later." A precise answer, I will do it. At 3 p.m. today. Let's practice together. Do not be vague. Be precise. Do not be vague. Be precise. Wonderful. Now let's use both words. In a short conversation, can you explain the problem? I can try, but my idea is still a little vague. That is okay. Take your time. I think the instructions are not precise enough. I agree. We need clearer details. Listen again. Can you explain the problem? I can try, but my idea is still a little vague. That is okay. Take your time. I think the instructions are not precise enough. I agree. We need clearer details. Very good. The next word is clarify. Clarify means to make something clear. If you clarify something, you explain it better. For example, could you clarify your point? That means, could you explain your idea more clearly? Another example, the teacher clarified the meaning of the word. Repeat after me. Clarify. Clarify. Now repeat the sentence. Could you clarify your point? Again. Could you clarify your point? Excellent. This is a very useful word. In real conversations, at work, you can say, could you clarify the deadline in class? You can say, could you clarify the question with a friend? You can say, can you clarify what you mean? Let's practice slowly. Could you clarify the deadline? Could you clarify the question? Can you clarify what you mean? Great job. Now let's add another useful word. The word is assumption. An assumption is something you believe is true, even though you may not have proof. For example, I made the wrong assumption. That means I believed something was true, but I was wrong. Another example, do not make assumptions too quickly. Repeat after me. Assumption, assumption. Now repeat. Do not make assumptions too quickly. Again, do not make assumptions too quickly. Good. This word is very useful. When you talk about communication problems, many misunderstandings happen because people make assumptions. They think they understand, but they do not ask questions, so they do not clarify. Let's practice. I made an assumption. I made the wrong assumption. I should ask. Before I make an assumption. Very good. Now let's combine the words precise, vague, clarify, assumption. Listen to this. Practice paragraph. Sometimes communication becomes difficult because people are vague. They do not give precise information than others. Make assumptions. That is why it is helpful to clarify your meaning. Now repeat, sentence by sentence. Sometimes communication becomes difficult because people are vague. They do not give precise information than others. Make assumptions. That is why it is helpful to clarify your meaning. Excellent. You are already building more advanced English. Let's continue. The next word is perspective. Perspective means the way you see or understand something. Different people can have different perspectives. For example, from my perspective, the plan is realistic. That means, in my opinion, or from the way I see it. The plan is realistic. Another example. Travel can change your perspective on life. Repeat after me. Perspective, perspective. Now repeat. From my perspective. The plan is realistic. Again. From my perspective. The plan is realistic. Good. This word helps you sound more natural when giving opinions. Instead of always saying, I think, you can say, from my perspective, in my view, the way I see it. Let's practice. From my perspective. This is a good idea. From my perspective, we need more time. From my perspective, learning English every day is better than studying once a week. Excellent. The next word is insight. Insight means a deep understanding of something. When you have insight, you understand something more clearly and deeply. For example, her advice gave me new insight. Another example, listening to native speakers gives you insight into natural English. Repeat after me. Insight, insight. Now repeat. Her advice gave me new insight. Again, her advice gave me new insight. Good. You can use insight when you talk about learning, people, business, books, and life. For example, this book gave me insight into human behavior. This conversation gave me insight into my mistakes. This lesson gave me insight into advanced vocabulary. Repeat. This lesson gave me insight into advanced vocabulary. Excellent. Now let's use perspective and insight together. Listen. When you learn a new language, your perspective changes. You begin to see the world differently. You also gain insight into other cultures. Repeat slowly. When you learn a new language, your perspective changes. You begin to see the world differently. You also gain insight into other cultures. Very good. Now let's move into a short listening practice. Listen carefully, then you will repeat. Why do you enjoy learning English? It gives me a new perspective. What do you mean? I can understand different people, different cultures, and different ideas. That is interesting. Yes, every conversation gives me new insight. Now repeat. It gives me a new perspective. I can understand different people. I can understand different cultures. I can understand different ideas. Every conversation gives me new insight. Excellent. Now we will move to words. For daily communication, these words will help you sound polite, confident, and natural. The first word in this section is mention. Mention means to say something briefly. You do not explain it deeply. You just talk about it for a short moment. For example, she mentioned your name in the meeting. Another example, I forgot to mention one important detail. Repeat after me. Mention, mention. Now repeat. I forgot to mention one important detail. Again, I forgot to mention one important detail. Good. You can use mention in everyday English. Did he mention the meeting? She mentioned a new restaurant. I mentioned the problem to my manager. Repeat. Did he mention the meeting? She mentioned a new restaurant. I mentioned the problem to my manager. Great. The next word is suggest. Suggest means to give an idea or recommendation. For example, I suggest taking a short break. Another example, she suggested a better solution. Repeat after me. Suggest, suggest. Now repeat. I suggest taking a short break. Again. I suggest taking a short break. Good. Be careful. In English, we usually say, I suggest taking a break, not I suggest to take a break. So repeat. I suggest taking a break. I suggest practicing every day. I suggest writing new words in a notebook. Excellent. The next word is recommend. Recommend is similar to suggest, but recommend often feels a little stronger. If you recommend something, you think it is a good choice. For example, I recommend this book. Another example, my teacher recommended this podcast. Repeat after me. Recommend. Recommend. Now repeat. My teacher recommended this podcast. Again, my teacher recommended this podcast. Good. Now compare. Suggest can mean giving an idea. Recommend can mean saying something is good or useful. Listen, I suggest studying for 20 minutes. I recommend this English course. Repeat. I suggest studying for 20 minutes. I recommend this English course. Very good. The next word is respond. Respond means to answer or react. For example, she did not respond to my message. Another example, how should I respond to this question? Repeat after me. Respond. Respond. Now repeat. How should I respond to this question? Again. How should I respond to this question? Good. Respond is useful in many situations. Respond to a message. Respond to an email. Respond to a question. Respond to feedback. Respond to pressure. Repeat. I need to respond. To this email, I need to respond. To this question, I need to respond. Calmly. Excellent. Now let's use mention, suggest, recommend, and respond in a mini dialogue. Did your teacher mention the exam? Yes, she mentioned it. At the end of class, what did she suggest? She suggested reviewing the vocabulary every day. Did she recommend any books? Yes, she recommended a simple grammar book. How did the students respond? Most students responded positively. Listen again. Did your teacher mention the exam? Yes, she mentioned it. At the end of class, what did she suggest? She suggested reviewing the vocabulary every day. Did she recommend any books? Yes, she recommended a simple grammar book. How did the students respond? Most students responded positively. Now repeat these sentences. She mentioned it. At the end of class, she suggested reviewing the vocabulary every day. She recommended a simple grammar book. Most students responded positively. Excellent. Now let's move to a more advanced communication word. The word is negotiate. Negotiate means to discuss something in order to reach an agreement. For example, they negotiated the price. Another example, we need to negotiate the schedule. Repeat after me. Negotiate. Negotiate. Now repeat. We need to negotiate. The schedule. Again. We need to negotiate. The schedule. Good. You can negotiate. At work. You can negotiate. A salary. You can negotiate. A price. You can negotiate. A deadline. You can negotiate. Responsibilities. Repeat. I need to negotiate. The deadline. She negotiated. A better salary. They negotiated. The final price. Very good. The next word is compromise. Compromise means an agreement where both sides give up something. For example, we reached a compromise. That means both sides accepted. A middle solution. Another example. A good relationship requires compromise. Repeat after me. Compromise. Compromise. Now repeat. We reached a compromise. Again. We reached a compromise. Excellent. Now listen to this short explanation. If you want one thing and I want another thing, we may need to compromise. You give a little, I give a little. Then we find a fair solution. Practice. Sometimes we need to compromise. A good team knows how to compromise. We reached a compromise. After a long discussion, great job. Now let's combine, negotiate, and compromise. I cannot finish the project by Friday. Then we need to negotiate a new deadline. Could we finish it by Monday? Monday is possible, but I need the first part by Saturday. That sounds fair. Good. We found a compromise. Repeat. We need to negotiate a new deadline. Could we finish it by Monday? That sounds fair. We found a compromise. Excellent. Now let's move to vocabulary for emotions and personality. These words help you describe people, feelings, and behavior in a more advanced way. The first word is considerate. Considerate means kind and thoughtful toward other people. A considerate person thinks about how others feel. For example, she is very considerate. Another example, it was considerate of him to call and check on me. Repeat after me. Considerates. Considerat. Now repeat. She is very considerate. Again. She is very considerate. Good. Use considerate when someone does something kind. He was considerate enough to wait for me. She gave me a considerate reply. Please be considerate of other people's time. Repeat. Please be considerate of other people's time. Very good. The next word is impatient. Impatient means not wanting to wait. An impatient person becomes annoyed when something takes too long. For example, he gets impatient in traffic. Another example, do not be impatient with your progress. Repeat after me. Impatient. Impatient. Now repeat. Do not be impatient with your progress. Again. Do not be impatient with your progress. Good. This is important for English learners. Many learners become impatient. They want fluency quickly, but language needs time. So say this with me. I will not be impatient with myself. I will not be impatient with my progress. I will be patient and consistent. Excellent. The next word is anxious. Anxious means worried, or nervous. For example, I feel anxious before speaking in public. Another example, she was anxious about the interview. Repeat after me. Anxious, anxious. Now repeat. I feel anxious before speaking in public. Again, I feel anxious before speaking in public. Good. Now let's add another word. The word is composed. Composed means calm and in control. If you are composed, you do not panic. You stay calm. For example, she remained composed during the interview. Another example, try to stay composed when you make a mistake. Repeat after me. Composed, composed. Now repeat. Try to stay composed when you make a mistake. Again, try to stay composed when you make a mistake. Excellent. Now compare. Anxious means nervous. Composed means calm. Listen, I felt anxious before the presentation, but during the presentation, I stayed composed. Repeat. I felt anxious before the presentation, but during the presentation, I stayed composed. Very good. Now let's practice a short emotional dialogue. Are you ready? For your English interview, I am a little anxious. That is normal. I am trying to stay composed. Good. Just speak slowly and clearly. Thank you. That is very considerate of you. Repeat. I am a little anxious. I am trying to stay composed. Just speak slowly and clearly. That is very considerate of you. Excellent. The next word is sincere. Sincere means honest and real. A sincere person says what they truly feel. For example, thank you for your sincere advice. Another example, she gave me a sincere apology. Repeat after me. Sincere, sincere. Now repeat. Thank you for your sincere advice. Again, thank you for your sincere advice. Good. Sincere is useful in emotional and polite English. A sincere smile, a sincere apology, a sincere compliment, a sincere conversation. Repeat. She gave a sincere apology. I appreciate your sincere feedback. We had a sincere conversation. Very nice. The next word is hesitant. Hesitant means unsure or slow to act because you are nervous or uncertain. For example, he was hesitant to speak English. Another example, I felt hesitant before asking the question. Repeat after me. Hesitant, hesitant. Now repeat. I felt hesitant before asking the question. Again, I felt hesitant before asking the question. Good. Many English learners feel hesitant. They know the word, they know the sentence, but they are afraid to speak. If this happens to you, remember this sentence. I may feel hesitant, but I can still speak. Repeat. I may feel hesitant, but I can still speak. Again, I may feel hesitant, but I can still speak. Excellent. The next word is confident. You probably know this word, but we will practice it in advanced sentences. Confident means feeling sure about yourself or your ability. For example, I am becoming more confident in English. Another example, she sounded confident during the discussion. Repeat after me. Confident, confident. Now repeat. I am becoming more confident. In English. Again, I am becoming more confident. In English. Good. Now combine hesitant and confident. At first, I felt hesitant, but after practice, I became more confident. Repeat. At first, I felt hesitant, but after practice, I became more confident. Excellent. Now let's make a reflection. Listen first. When I speak English, I sometimes feel anxious. I may be hesitant at first, but I try to stay composed. I remind myself to be patient. With sincere practice, I become more confident. Now repeat, sentence by sentence. When I speak English, I sometimes feel anxious. I may be hesitant at first, but I try to stay composed. I remind myself to be patient. With sincere practice, I become more confident. Wonderful. Now we will move into vocabulary for work, study, and progress. These words are very useful for adult learners, students, professionals, and anyone who wants to sound more advanced. In daily English, the first word is consistent. Consistent means doing something regularly and steadily. For example, consistent practice improves your English. Another example, she is consistent with her morning routine. Repeat after me. Consistent. Consistent. Now repeat. Consistent practice improves your English. Again, consistent practice improves your English. Good. This is one of the most important words for learning. You do not need perfect practice. You need consistent practice. Say it with me. I do not need perfect practice. I need consistent practice. Again, I do not need perfect practice. I need consistent practice. Excellent. The next word is gradual. Gradual means happening slowly, step by step. For example, fluency is a gradual process. Another example, there was a gradual improvement in my pronunciation. Repeat after me. Gradual. Gradual. Now repeat. Fluency is a gradual process. Again, fluency is a gradual process. Good. This word helps you talk about progress, a gradual change, a gradual improvement, a gradual increase, a gradual process. Repeat. I can see gradual improvement. My confidence is growing gradually. Fluency is a gradual process. Very good. The next word is effective. Effective means producing a good result. For example, this method is effective. Another example, listening and repeating is an effective way to improve speaking. Repeat after me. Effective. Effective. Now repeat. Listening and repeating is an effective way to improve speaking. Again, listening and repeating is an effective way to improve speaking. Good. Now let's add efficient. Efficient means doing something well without wasting time or energy. For example, this is an efficient study method. Another example, she works in an efficient way. Repeat after me. Efficient. Efficient. Now repeat. This is an efficient study method. Again, this is an efficient study method. Excellent. Effective and efficient. are different. Effective means it works. Efficient means it works. Without wasting time. Listen, a method can be effective, but not efficient. For example, studying 10 hours a day may be effective, but it is not always efficient. A short daily routine may be both effective and efficient. Repeat. This method is effective. This method is efficient. This method is both effective and efficient. Great. The next word is strategy. A strategy is a plan for reaching a goal. For example, I need a better strategy for learning vocabulary. Another example, her strategy helped her pass the exam. Repeat after me. Strategy. Strategy. Now repeat. I need a better strategy for learning vocabulary. Again, I need a better strategy for learning vocabulary. Good. Here is a simple English strategy. Learn a word. Hear the word. Repeat the word. Use the word in a sentence. Use the sentence in a conversation. Review the word later. That is a strategy. Now repeat. I need a clear strategy. I need a simple strategy. I need an effective strategy. Excellent. The next word is priority. A priority is something important that you should do first. For example, speaking practice is my priority. Another example, health should be a priority. Repeat after me. Priority, priority. Now repeat. Speaking practice is my priority. Again, speaking practice is my priority. Good. You can say, my top priority is fluency. My first priority is listening. My main priority is confidence. Repeat. My top priority is fluency. My first priority is listening. My main priority is confidence. Very good. Now let's use these work and study words together. Listen. My goal is to improve my English speaking. My strategy is simple. I practice every day. I focus on useful vocabulary. I listen and repeat. This routine is effective because it helps me speak. It is efficient because it does not take too much time. My progress is gradual, but I am consistent. Speaking clearly is my priority. Now repeat, sentence by sentence. My goal is to improve my English speaking. My strategy is simple. I practice every day. I focus on useful vocabulary. I listen and repeat. This routine is effective. It helps me speak. It is efficient. It does not take too much time. My progress is gradual, but I am consistent. Speaking clearly is my priority. Excellent. Now let's move to a longer mini dialogue about study habits. You sound more confident in English now. Thank you. I changed my strategy. What did you change? Before, I tried to memorize too many words. And now I focus on useful words and repeat them every day. That sounds more efficient. Yes, it is also more effective. Do you see progress? Yes, but it is gradual. That is normal. Consistency is the key. Exactly. Speaking practice is my priority now. Now listen again and repeat. The most important sentences: I changed my strategy. I focus on useful words. I repeat them every day. That sounds more efficient. It is also more effective. The progress is gradual. Consistency is the key. Speaking practice is my priority now. Very good. Now we are going to practice shadowing. Shadowing means you listen and speak almost at the same time. Do not worry about being perfect. Try to copy the rhythm. Try to copy the feeling. Speak softly. Let's begin with short sentences. I want to speak more clearly. I want to sound more natural. I want to use advanced words. In daily life, I do not need to speak perfectly. I need to speak consistently. I can improve gradually. Every small practice session matters. Good. Now, a little faster. I want to speak more clearly. I want to sound more natural. I want to use advanced words. In daily life, I do not need to speak perfectly. I need to speak consistently. I can improve gradually. Every small practice session matters. Excellent. Now let's shadow a short paragraph. Listen first. Learning advanced vocabulary does not mean using difficult words all the time. It means choosing the right word at the right moment. Sometimes a simple word is best. Sometimes an advanced word helps you express a precise idea. The goal is not to sound complicated. The goal is to sound clear, natural, and confident. Now repeat with me. Learning advanced vocabulary does not mean using difficult words all the time. It means choosing the right word at the right moment. Sometimes a simple word is best. Sometimes an advanced word helps you express a precise idea. The goal is not to sound complicated. The goal is to sound clear, natural, and confident. Very nice. Now let's continue with deeper vocabulary for opinions and conversations. The next word is reasonable. Reasonable means fair, sensible, or not too extreme. For example, that is a reasonable idea. Another example, the price is reasonable. Repeat after me. Reasonable. Reasonable. Now repeat. That is a reasonable idea. Again. That is a reasonable idea. Good. You can use reasonable in many daily situations. A reasonable price. A reasonable request. A reasonable explanation. A reasonable decision. Repeat. That is a reasonable price. That is a reasonable request. That is a reasonable explanation. Very good. The next word is realistic. Realistic means practical and based on real life. For example, be realistic about your goals. Another example, it is realistic to learn 5 new words a day. Repeat after me. Realistic. Realistic. Now repeat. Be realistic about your goals. Again. Be realistic about your goals. Excellent. Now compare. A dream can be big, but a plan should be realistic. Say it with me. A dream can be big, but a plan should be realistic. Again. A dream can be big, but a plan should be realistic. Great. The next word is flexible. Flexible means able to change when needed. For example, we need to be flexible with the schedule. Another example, a flexible learner can try different methods. Repeat after me. Flexible, flexible. Now repeat. We need to be flexible with the schedule. Again, we need to be flexible with the schedule. Good. The next word is adaptable. Adaptable means able to adjust to new situations. It is close to flexible, but often describes a person's ability. For example, she is adaptable and learns quickly. Another example, English learners need to be adaptable. Repeat after me. Adaptable, adaptable. Now repeat. English learners need to be adaptable. Again, English learners need to be adaptable. Excellent. Flexible and adaptable are very useful words. A flexible schedule, an adaptable person, a flexible plan, an adaptable learner. Repeat. I need a flexible plan. I want to become an adaptable learner. Very good. Now let's practice them in conversation. I want to study English for 3 hours every day. That is a big goal. Do you think it is too much? Maybe. You should be realistic. What do you suggest? Start with 20 minutes a day. That sounds reasonable. And be flexible. Some days will be busy. You are right. I need to be adaptable. Now repeat. You should be realistic. That sounds reasonable. Be flexible. Some days will be busy. I need to be adaptable. Excellent. The next word is reliable. Reliable means someone or something you can trust. For example, she is a reliable friend. Another example, this website is a reliable source of information. Repeat after me. Reliable, reliable. Now repeat. She is a reliable friend. Again, she is a reliable friend. Good. Use reliable for people, tools, information, and systems. A reliable person, a reliable method, a reliable source, a reliable car. Repeat. I need a reliable method. This is a reliable source. He is reliable and responsible. Very good. The next word is responsible. Responsible means able to make good decisions and take care of duties. For example, he is responsible for the project. Another example, a responsible learner reviews regularly. Repeat after me. Responsible, responsible. Now repeat. A responsible learner reviews regularly. Again, a responsible learner reviews regularly. Good. Now combine reliable and responsible. A reliable person does what they promise. A responsible person takes care of what they must do. Repeat. A reliable person does what they promise. A responsible person takes care of what they must do. Excellent. Now let's move to common mistakes. Mistake number 1. Using advanced words without understanding the situation. Some learners think advanced English means difficult English, but that is not true. Advanced English means accurate English, natural English, clear English. If you use A big word in the wrong place. Your sentence may sound strange. So remember, do not choose the most difficult word. Choose the most suitable word. Repeat, do not choose the most difficult word. Choose the most suitable word. Good. Mistake number 2. Learning only. The translation. A translation can help, but it is not enough. You also need examples. You need pronunciation. You need context. You need repetition. For example, do not only learn, that precise means exact. Learn this sentence. Please be precise. Learn this sentence. I need precise information. Learn this sentence. Her answer was precise and helpful. Repeat. Please be precise. I need precise information. Her answer was precise and helpful. Excellent. Mistake number 3. Never using new words in your own life. If the word is not connected to your life, you may forget it. So make personal sentences. For example, I am sometimes hesitant to speak English. I want to be more consistent. My progress is gradual. Speaking clearly is my priority. Repeat. I am sometimes hesitant to speak English. I want to be more consistent. My progress is gradual. Speaking clearly is my priority. Very good. Now let's continue with words for problems and solutions. The first word is challenge. You probably know this word, but let's use it in more advanced ways. A challenge is something difficult that tests your ability. For example, speaking English in meetings is a challenge for me. Another example, learning vocabulary is challenging but rewarding. Repeat after me. Challenge, challenge. Now repeat. Speaking English in meetings is a challenge for me. Again, speaking English in meetings is a challenge for me. Good. The next word is obstacle. An obstacle is something that blocks your progress. For example, fear is a common obstacle for language learners. Another example, lack of time can be an obstacle. Repeat after me. Obstacle, obstacle. Now repeat. Fear is a common obstacle for language learners. Again, fear is a common obstacle for language learners. Excellent. Now compare. A challenge is difficult. An obstacle blocks your way. Listen. The exam is a challenge. My fear is an obstacle. Repeat. The exam is a challenge. My fear is an obstacle. Good. The next word is overcome. Overcome means to successfully deal with a problem. For example, I want to overcome my fear of speaking. Another example, she overcame many difficulties. Repeat after me. Overcome, overcome. Now repeat. I want to overcome my fear of speaking. Again, I want to overcome my fear of speaking. Very good. Now let's add solution. A solution is an answer to a problem. For example, we need a solution. Another example, daily practice is a simple solution. Repeat after me. Solution, solution. Now repeat. Daily practice is a simple solution. Again, daily practice is a simple solution. Excellent. Now use all four: challenge, obstacle, overcome, solution, listen. My biggest challenge is speaking English naturally. My biggest obstacle is fear. To overcome this, I practice with short sentences every day. For me, repetition is the best solution. Now repeat. My biggest challenge is speaking English naturally. My biggest obstacle is fear. To overcome this, I practice with short sentences every day. For me, repetition is the best solution. Wonderful. Now let's practice a real-life conversation. What is your biggest challenge? In English, speaking without stopping. What makes it difficult? I think fear is my biggest obstacle. Fear of mistakes. Yes, I worry too much. How can you overcome it? I can practice short answers every day. That sounds like a good solution. Yes, I want to build confidence. Slowly, repeat the key sentences. What is your biggest challenge? In English, fear is my biggest obstacle. How can you overcome it? I can practice short answers every day. That sounds like a good solution. I want to build confidence. Slowly. Excellent. Now we will learn words for describing change and improvement. The first word is develop. Develop means to grow or improve over time. For example, I want to develop better speaking skills. Another example, confidence develops through practice. Repeat after me. Develop. Develop. Now repeat. Confidence develops through practice. Again. Confidence develops through practice. Good. The next word is strengthen. Strengthen means to make something stronger. For example, this exercise will strengthen your vocabulary. Another example, speaking practice strengthens your confidence. Repeat after me. Strengthen. Strengthen. Now repeat. Speaking practice strengthens your confidence. Again. Speaking practice strengthens your confidence. Very good. The next word is expand. Expand means to make something bigger or wider. For example, I want to expand my vocabulary. Another example, reading helps expand your knowledge. Repeat after me. Expand. Expand. Now repeat. I want to expand my vocabulary. Again, I want to expand my vocabulary. Excellent. The next word is transform. Transform means to change completely. For example, daily practice can transform your English. Another example, confidence can transform the way you speak. Repeat after me. Transform. Transform. Now repeat. Daily practice can transform your English. Again. Daily practice can transform your English. Good. Now let's use all four. Develop, strengthen, expand, transform. Listen. When you learn new words, you develop your English. When you repeat them, you strengthen your memory. When you read and listen more, you expand your vocabulary. And when you practice speaking every day, you transform your communication. Now repeat. When you learn new words, you develop your English. When you repeat them, you strengthen your memory. When you read and listen more, you expand your vocabulary. When you practice speaking every day, You transform. Your communication. Excellent. Now let's move into a fluency building section. In this section, we will take simple sentences and make them more advanced. Simple. I want to improve my English. Advanced. I want to develop my English skills through consistent daily practice. Repeat. I want to develop my English skills through consistent daily practice. Good. Simple. I am afraid to speak. Advanced. I feel hesitant when I speak, but I am learning to stay composed. Repeat. I feel hesitant when I speak, but I am learning to stay composed. Good. Simple. I need help. Advanced. I need clear guidance and a reliable strategy. Repeat. I need clear guidance and a reliable strategy. Good. Simple. This plan is good. Advanced. This plan is realistic, reasonable, and effective. Repeat. This plan is realistic, reasonable, and effective. Good. Simple. I made a mistake. Advanced. I made an assumption. But now, I understand the situation more clearly. Repeat. I made an assumption. But now, I understand the situation more clearly. Excellent. Now let's practice more. I want to speak better. I want to speak more clearly and confidently. I want to express my ideas with more precision. I want to respond naturally. In real conversations, I want to overcome hesitation and build fluency gradually. Wonderful. Now we will learn words for describing conversations. The first word is discussion. A discussion is a conversation about a topic. For example, we had a useful discussion about the project. Another example, I enjoy discussions that help me learn. Repeat after me. Discussion, discussion. Now repeat. We had a useful discussion about the project. Again, we had a useful discussion about the project. Good. The next word is topic. A topic is the subject you are talking about. For example, today's topic is advanced vocabulary. Another example. This is an interesting topic. Repeat after me. Topic. Topic. Now repeat. This is an interesting topic. Again. This is an interesting topic. Good. The next word is opinion. An opinion is what you think or believe. For example, in my opinion, practice is important. Another example, everyone has a different opinion. Repeat after me. Opinion. Opinion. Now repeat. In my opinion, practice is important. Again. In my opinion, practice is important. Good. Now let's make this more advanced. Instead of only saying, I think, you can say, in my opinion, from my perspective, the way I see it, as far as I can tell. Repeat, in my opinion, from my perspective, the way I see it, as far as I can tell. Excellent. The next word is agree. Agree means to have the same opinion. For example, I agree with you. Another example, I agree that practice is important. Repeat after me. Agree. Agree. Now repeat. I agree that practice is important. Again. I agree that practice is important. Good. The next word is disagree. Disagree means to have a different opinion. For example, I disagree with that idea. Another example, I respectfully disagree. Repeat after me. Disagree, disagree. Now repeat. I respectfully disagree. Again, I respectfully disagree. Very good. In polite English, do not always say, "You are wrong." That can sound too direct. Instead, say, "I see your point, but I disagree." Or, "I understand your opinion, but I see it differently." Repeat, "I see your point, but I disagree." "I understand your opinion, but I see it differently." Excellent. Now let's practice. A polite discussion. What is your opinion about learning vocabulary? In my opinion, vocabulary is very important. I agree. But pronunciation is important too. Yes, I see your point. Some people memorize long word lists. I understand that method, but I see it differently. What do you recommend? I recommend learning words in real sentences. Now repeat. The key sentences. In my opinion, vocabulary is very important. I agree, but pronunciation is important too. I see your point. I understand that method, but I see it differently. I recommend learning words in real sentences. Excellent. Now let's move to a slow listening section. Just listen first. Do not repeat yet. When you learn advanced vocabulary, your goal is not to impress people. Your goal is to express yourself more clearly. A good speaker does not always use difficult words. A good speaker chooses words carefully. Sometimes the best word is simple. Sometimes the best word is advanced. The key is knowing the difference. Now repeat slowly. When you learn advanced vocabulary, your goal is not to impress people. Your goal is to express yourself more clearly. A good speaker does not always use difficult words. A good speaker chooses words carefully. Sometimes the best word is simple. Sometimes the best word is advanced. The key is knowing the difference. Very good. Now we will learn vocabulary for deeper feelings. The first word is relief. Relief means a feeling of comfort after stress or worry ends. For example, I felt relief after the exam. Another example, it was a relief to hear good news. Repeat after me. Relief, relief. Now repeat. It was a relief to hear good news. Again, it was a relief to hear good news. Good. The next word is frustration. Frustration means the feeling you have when something is difficult or not working. For example, I felt frustration when I could not remember the word. Another example, learning a language can bring frustration. Repeat after me. Frustration, frustration. Now repeat. Learning a language can bring frustration. Again, learning a language can bring frustration. Good. The next word is determination. Determination means a strong decision to continue and not give up. For example, her determination helped her succeed. Another example, you need determination to learn English well. Repeat after me. Determination, determination. Now repeat. You need determination To learn English well, again, you need determination. To learn English well, excellent. The next word is motivation. Motivation is the reason or energy that makes you want to do something. For example, my motivation is to speak English at work. Another example, motivation is helpful, but habits are stronger. Repeat after me. Motivation. Motivation. Now repeat. Motivation is helpful, but habits are stronger. Again, motivation is helpful, but habits are stronger. Very good. Now let's use relief, frustration, determination, and motivation. Listen, sometimes I feel frustration when I cannot speak clearly, but I remind myself that mistakes are normal. When I finally express my idea, I feel relief. My motivation helps me start. My determination helps me continue. Now repeat. Sometimes I feel frustration when I cannot speak clearly, but I remind myself that mistakes are normal. When I finally express my idea, I feel relief. My motivation helps me start. My determination helps me continue. Excellent. Now a mini dialogue. You look tired. Are you okay? I am a little frustrated. What happened? I forgot many English words during a conversation. That happens to everyone. I know, but it was difficult. Do not lose your motivation. I will not. I have determination. Good. You will feel relief when you see your progress. Repeat. I am a little frustrated. I forgot many English words. That happens to everyone. Do not lose your motivation. I have determination. You will feel relief when you see your progress. Very good. Now let's practice advanced sentence patterns. Pattern 1. I find it difficult to. This means something is difficult for you. Repeat. I find it difficult to speak quickly. I find it difficult to remember new words. I find it difficult to understand fast English. Good. Now make it more advanced. I find it difficult to respond quickly in conversations. I find it difficult to express precise ideas. I find it difficult to stay composed when I feel anxious. Excellent. Pattern 2. I tend to. This means you usually do something. Repeat. I tend to speak slowly. I tend to forget words. When I am nervous, I tend to feel hesitant. In group conversations. Good. Now more advanced. I tend to make assumptions when I do not understand the context. I tend to become impatient when progress is gradual. I tend to learn better when the examples are realistic. Excellent. Pattern 3. One of my priorities is. Repeat. One of my priorities is improving my listening. One of my priorities is speaking more confidently. One of my priorities is expanding my vocabulary. Good. Now more advanced. One of my priorities is developing a reliable study strategy. One of my priorities is becoming more precise when I explain my ideas. One of my priorities is overcoming hesitation in real conversations. Excellent work. Now let's move to vocabulary. For everyday decisions, the first word is option. An option is a choice. For example, we have 3 options. Another example, online learning is a good option. Repeat after me. Option, option. Now repeat. We have 3 options. Again. We have 3 options. Good. The next word is alternative. An alternative is another choice. For example, if this plan does not work, we need an alternative. Another example, listening to podcasts is an alternative to reading textbooks. Repeat after me. Alternative, alternative. Now repeat. We need an alternative. Again, we need an alternative. Good. The next word is evaluate. Evaluate means to think carefully about something and decide how good or useful it is. For example, we need to evaluate the results. Another example, evaluate your progress every month. Repeat after me. Evaluate, evaluate. Now repeat. Evaluate your progress every month. Again, evaluate your progress every month. Excellent. The next word is decide. Decide means to choose. For example, I need to decide which method to use. Another example, she decided to study every morning. Repeat after me. Decide, decide. Now repeat. I need to decide which method to use. Again, I need to decide which method to use. Good. Now let's combine. Option, alternative, evaluate, decide. Listen, when you learn English, you have many options. You can read books. You can watch videos. You can listen to podcasts. You can speak with friends. If one method does not work, try an alternative. Evaluate your progress. Then decide what helps you most. Now repeat. When you learn English, you have many options. If one method does not work, try an alternative. Evaluate your progress. Then decide what helps you most. Excellent. Now a realistic conversation. I am not improving with my old method. Maybe you need an alternative. What do you suggest? Try listening and repeating every day. That is one option. Yes. And after 2 weeks, evaluate your progress. Then I can decide if it works. Exactly. Repeat. Maybe you need an alternative. That is one option. Evaluate your progress. Then I can decide if it works. Excellent. Now we will do a review of the words. From the first half of this lesson, repeat each word after me. Precise, vague, clarify, assumption, perspective, insight, mention, suggest, recommend, respond, negotiate, compromise, considerate, impatient, anxious, composed, sincere, hesitant, confident, consistent, gradual, effective, efficient, strategy, priority, reasonable, realistic, flexible, adaptable, reliable, responsible, challenge, obstacle, overcome, solution, develop, strengthen, expand, transform, discussion, topic, opinion, agree, disagree, relief, frustration, determination, motivation, option, alternative, evaluate, decide. Wonderful. Now let's continue with more advanced vocabulary, but we will keep the rhythm calm and practical. The next word is emphasize. Emphasize means to give special importance to something. For example, the teacher emphasized pronunciation. Another example, I want to emphasize one important point. Repeat after me. Emphasize, emphasize. Now repeat. I want to emphasize one important point. Again, I want to emphasize one important point. Good. You can use emphasize in presentations, meetings, lessons, and serious conversations. Let me emphasize this. The speaker emphasized the need for teamwork. The article emphasized the importance of sleep. Repeat. Let me emphasize this. The speaker emphasized teamwork. The article emphasized the importance of sleep. Excellent. The next word is highlight. Highlight means to show that something is important or noticeable. For example, the report highlighted the main problems. Another example, I want to highlight 3 useful phrases. Repeat after me. Highlight, highlight. Now repeat. I want to highlight 3 useful phrases. Again, I want to highlight 3 useful phrases. Good. Emphasize and highlight are similar. Emphasize means to give importance. Highlight means to point out or show importance. Repeat. I want to emphasize this idea. I want to highlight this example. Very good. The next word is summarize. Summarize means to explain the main points in a short way. For example, can you summarize the lesson? Another example, she summarized the meeting in 5 sentences. Repeat after me. Summarize, summarize. Now repeat. Can you summarize the lesson? Again. Can you summarize the lesson? Excellent. The next word is conclude. Conclude means to finish with a final idea or decision. For example, we can conclude that practice is essential. Another example, the speaker concluded with a strong message. Repeat after me. Conclude, conclude. Now repeat. We can conclude that practice is essential. Again, we can conclude that practice is essential. Good. Now use all 4. Emphasize, highlight, summarize, conclude. Listen. In today's lesson, I want to emphasize useful vocabulary. I will highlight common sentence patterns. Later, we will summarize the key words, and we will conclude with a final speaking practice. Now repeat. I want to emphasize useful vocabulary. I will highlight common sentence patterns. We will summarize the key words. We will conclude with a final speaking practice. Excellent. Now let's move to words that help you sound more natural when explaining causes and results. The first word is cause. Cause means the reason something happens. For example, lack of sleep can cause stress. Another example, fear can cause hesitation. Repeat after me. Cause, cause. Now repeat. Fear can cause hesitation. Again, fear can cause hesitation. Good. The next word is effect. Effect means the result of something. For example, practice has a positive effect on fluency. Another example, stress can have a negative effect on memory. Repeat after me. Effect, effect. Now repeat. Practice has a positive effect on fluency. Again. Practice has a positive effect on fluency. Good. The next word is influence. Influence means to affect how someone thinks, feels, or behaves. For example, your environment can influence your learning. Another example, good teachers influence students in a positive way. Repeat after me. Influence, influence. Now repeat. Your environment can influence your learning. Again, your environment can influence your learning. Excellent. The next word is result. A result is what happens because of an action. For example, the result of daily practice is improvement. Another example, her hard work produced great results. Repeat after me. Result, result. Now repeat. Her hard work produced great results. Again, her hard work produced great results. Very good. Now let's practice. Cause and effect language. Listen. Fear can cause hesitation. Hesitation can affect your speaking, but practice can influence your confidence in a positive way. As a result, you speak more naturally. Now repeat. Fear can cause hesitation. Hesitation can affect your speaking. Practice can influence your confidence. As a result, you speak more naturally. Excellent. Now a short dialogue. Why do some learners stop speaking? Fear is often the cause. What effect does fear have? It makes them hesitate. Can practice change that? Yes, practice can influence confidence. What is the result? Learners begin to speak more naturally. Repeat. Fear is often the cause. It makes them hesitate. Practice can influence confidence. Learners begin to speak more naturally. Excellent. Now let's learn words. For quality, the first word is basic. Basic means simple or at the first level. For example, I know basic English. Another example, this is a basic rule. Repeat after me. Basic, basic. Now repeat. This is a basic rule. Again, this is a basic rule. Good. The next word is advanced. Advanced means at a higher level. For example, this is advanced vocabulary. Another example, she speaks at an advanced level. Repeat after me. Advanced, advanced. Now repeat. This is advanced vocabulary. Again, this is advanced vocabulary. Good. The next word is complex. Complex means not simple, with many parts. For example, this topic is complex. Another example, English grammar can be complex. Repeat after me. Complex, complex. Now repeat. This topic is complex. Again, this topic is complex. Excellent. The next word is simple. Simple means easy to understand or not complicated. For example, please use simple language. Another example, a simple habit can change your English. Repeat after me. Simple, simple. Now repeat. Please use simple language. Again, please use simple language. Very good. Now compare. Basic is about level. Simple is about clarity. Advanced is about level. Complex is about difficulty or many parts. Repeat. Basic does not mean bad. Simple does not mean weak. Advanced does not mean confusing. Complex does not always mean useful. Excellent. Now a practice paragraph. I started with basic English. Then I learned more advanced vocabulary. Some topics were complex, but my teacher used simple explanations. That helped me understand. Repeat. I started with basic English. Then I learned more advanced vocabulary. Some topics were complex, but my teacher used simple explanations. That helped me understand. Great. Now let's move to a real-life conversation section. This will be a longer conversation. The topic is learning English for work and daily life. Listen carefully. Try to notice the advanced words. You seem more confident when you speak English now. Thank you. I think my progress is gradual, but I can feel it. What changed? I became more consistent. Before, my study routine was vague. I did not have a clear strategy. So what is your strategy now? I choose useful words, make personal sentences, and repeat them every day. That sounds effective. Yes, and it is efficient too. I only need 20 minutes a day. What is your biggest challenge? Speaking without feeling anxious. Sometimes I hesitate because I do not want to make mistakes. That is normal. I know. I try to stay composed and continue speaking. Do you use advanced vocabulary in conversations? I try, but I want to be precise. I do not want to use advanced words just to sound smart. That is a good perspective. Exactly. My priority is clear communication. Do you think your method works? Yes, I can see the results. My vocabulary is expanding, and my confidence is stronger. That is wonderful. I still make mistakes, but I do not see them as failure anymore. How do you see them? As useful information. Mistakes help me evaluate my progress. That is a very mature way to think. Thank you. I want to keep learning slowly and consistently. Now let's practice the important sentences from that conversation. My progress is gradual, but I can feel it. Before, my study routine was vague. I did not have a clear strategy. I choose useful words. I make personal sentences. I repeat them every day. That sounds effective. It is efficient too. My biggest challenge is speaking without feeling anxious. I try to stay composed. I do not want to use advanced words just to sound smart. My priority is clear communication. My vocabulary is expanding. My confidence is stronger. Mistakes help me evaluate my progress. I want to keep learning slowly and consistently. Excellent. Now we will do another shadowing section. This time, the sentences are a little longer. Speak softly. Follow the rhythm. I used to feel hesitant when I spoke English. I worried about every small mistake, but now I understand that mistakes are part of progress. When I stay composed, I can continue the conversation. When I practice consistently, my confidence Become stronger. My goal is not to sound perfect. My goal is to communicate clearly. Very good. Now again, a little smoother. I used to feel hesitant when I spoke English. I worried about every small mistake, but now I understand that mistakes are part of progress. When I stay composed, I can continue the conversation. When I practice consistently, my confidence becomes stronger. My goal is not to sound perfect. My goal is to communicate clearly. Excellent. Now let's learn vocabulary. For describing people, the first word is thoughtful. Thoughtful means kind, careful, and thinking about other people. For example, that was a thoughtful message. Another example, she is a thoughtful friend. Repeat after me. Thoughtful. Thoughtful. Now repeat. That was a thoughtful message. Again, that was a thoughtful message. Good. The next word is honest. Honest means telling the truth. For example, please be honest with me. Another example, he gave an honest answer. Repeat after me. Honest. Honest. Now repeat. Please be honest with me. Again. Please be honest with me. Good. The next word is patient. Patient means able to wait calmly. For example, my teacher is very patient. Another example, be patient with your English progress. Repeat after me. Patient. Patient. Now repeat. Be patient with your English progress. Again. Be patient with your English progress. Excellent. The next word is curious. Curious means wanting to know or learn more. For example, she is curious about other cultures. Another example, a curious learner asks many questions. Repeat after me. Curious. Curious. Now repeat. A curious learner asks many questions. Again. A curious learner asks many questions. Very good. Now let's use these words. A good learner is curious. A good teacher is patient. A good friend is thoughtful. A good conversation is honest. Repeat. A good learner is curious. A good teacher is patient. A good friend is thoughtful. A good conversation is honest. Excellent. Now let's practice a dialogue. Why do you like your English teacher? She is very patient. That is important. Yes. And she gives honest feedback. Does she explain things clearly? Very clearly. She is also thoughtful. What about you? As a student, I try to stay curious and ask questions. Repeat. She is very patient. She gives honest feedback. She is also thoughtful. I try to stay curious. I ask questions. Very good. Now let's learn vocabulary. For describing ideas, the first word is practical. Practical means useful in real life. For example, this lesson is practical. Another example, I need practical English. For work, repeat after me. Practical, practical. Now repeat. I need practical English. For work, again. I need practical English. For work, good. The next word is useful. Useful means helpful. For example, this phrase is useful. Another example, Vocabulary is useful when you can use it. Repeat after me. Useful, useful. Now repeat. Vocabulary is useful when you can use it. Again. Vocabulary is useful when you can use it. Good. The next word is meaningful. Meaningful means important or having real value. For example, we had a meaningful conversation. Another example, I want to make meaningful progress. Repeat after me. Meaningful, meaningful. Now repeat. We had a meaningful conversation. Again, we had a meaningful conversation. Excellent. The next word is valuable. Valuable means useful, important, or worth a lot. For example, that was a valuable advice. Another example, speaking practice is valuable. Repeat after me. Valuable, valuable. Now repeat. That was valuable advice. Again, that was valuable advice. Very good. Now use them together. Practical, useful, meaningful, valuable. Listen, I want practical English. I want useful phrases. I want meaningful conversations. I want valuable feedback. Repeat. I want practical English. I want useful phrases. I want meaningful conversations. I want valuable feedback. Excellent. Now let's build advanced sentences. Simple. This lesson helps me. Advanced. This lesson gives me practical vocabulary and valuable speaking practice. Repeat. This lesson gives me practical vocabulary and valuable speaking practice. Simple. I talked to my friend. Advanced. I had a meaningful conversation with my friend. Repeat. I had a meaningful conversation with my friend. Simple. This word is good. Advanced. This word is useful in daily conversations. Repeat. This word is useful in daily conversations. Great. Now let's move to vocabulary for time and habits. The first word is routine. A routine is something you do regularly. For example, I have a morning routine. Another example, my English routine is simple. Repeat after me. Routine, routine. Now repeat. My English routine is simple. Again, my English routine is simple. Good. The next word is habit. A habit is something you do often, sometimes automatically. For example, listening to English every day is a good habit. Another example, I want to build better habits. Repeat after me. Habit, habit. Now repeat. I want to build better habits. Again, I want to build better habits. Good. The next word is maintain. Maintain means to keep something going. For example, I want to maintain my study routine. Another example, it is hard to maintain. Motivación. Repeat after me. Maintain, maintain. Now repeat. I want to maintain my study routine. Again, I want to maintain my study routine. Excellent. The next word is improve. Improve means to become better. For example, I want to improve my pronunciation. Another example, my listening has improved. Repeat after me. Improve, improve. Now repeat. I want to improve my pronunciation. Again, I want to improve my pronunciation. Very good. Now combine them. A strong routine helps you build good habits. Good habits help you maintain progress, and steady progress helps you improve. Repeat. A strong routine helps you build good habits. Good habits help you maintain progress. Steady progress helps you improve. Excellent. Now a short conversation. How do you practice English? I have a simple routine. What is your routine? I listen for 10 minutes and repeat useful sentences. Is that enough? It helps me maintain the habit. Have you improved? Yes, slowly, but clearly. Repeat. I have a simple routine. I listen for 10 minutes. I repeat useful sentences. It helps me maintain the habit. I have improved slowly, but clearly. Very good. Now we will practice a longer review paragraph. Listen first. A strong English routine does not need to be complicated. It needs to be realistic. It needs to be consistent. If your routine is too difficult, you may stop. But if your routine is simple and practical, you can maintain it. Over time, this habit will strengthen your skills. Your progress may be gradual, but it will be real. Now repeat. A strong English routine does not need to be complicated. It needs to be realistic. It needs to be consistent. If your routine is too difficult, you may stop. But if your routine is simple and practical, you can maintain it. Over time, this habit will strengthen your skills. Your progress may be gradual, but it will be real. Excellent. Now let's move to words. For social situations, the first word is polite. Polite means respectful and showing good manners. For example, she asked a polite question. Another example, it is important to be polite in English. Repeat after me. Polite, polite. Now repeat. It is important to be polite in English. Again, it is important to be polite in English. Good. The next word is casual. Casual means relaxed and informal. For example, this is a casual conversation. Another example, you can use casual English with friends. Repeat after me. Casual, casual. Now repeat. This is a casual conversation. Again, this is a casual conversation. Good. The next word is formal. Formal means serious, polite, and official. For example, this is a formal email. Another example, use formal English in job interviews. Repeat after me. Formal, formal. Now repeat. Use formal English in job interviews. Again, use formal English in job interviews. Excellent. The next word is appropriate. Appropriate means suitable for a situation. For example, that word is not appropriate here. Another example, choose appropriate language for the situation. Repeat after me. Appropriate, appropriate. Now repeat. Choose appropriate language for the situation. Again, choose appropriate language for the situation. Very good. Now compare. Use casual English with friends. use formal English. In professional situations, use polite English. Almost everywhere, choose appropriate words. For each situation, repeat. Use casual English. With friends, use formal English. In professional situations, use polite English. Almost everywhere, choose appropriate words. For each situation, excellent. Now a mini dialogue. Can I say, "Hey, what's up?" in a job interview? It is understandable, but it is too casual. What should I say instead? You can say, "Hello, it is nice to meet you." That sounds more formal. Yes, and more appropriate. For the situation, repeat. It is too casual. That sounds more formal. It is more appropriate. For the situation, excellent. Now let's learn words. For explaining mistakes, the first word is error. An error is a mistake. For example, there is an error in this sentence. Another example, small errors. Are normal. Repeat after me. Error. Error. Now repeat. Small errors. Are normal. Again. Small errors. Are normal. Good. The next word is correct. Correct means right or without mistakes. For example, your answer is correct. Another example, can you correct my sentence? Repeat after me. Correct. Correct. Now repeat. Can you correct my sentence? Again. Can you correct my sentence? Good. The next word is improve. We used this word before. Let's use it again. To improve means to become better. For example, corrections help me improve. Repeat. Corrections help me improve. Again. Corrections help me improve. Good. The next word is feedback. Feedback means advice or comments that help you improve. For example, I need feedback on my speaking. Another example, her feedback was helpful. Repeat after me. Feedback. Feedback. Now repeat. I need feedback on my speaking. Again. I need feedback on my speaking. Excellent. Now use them together. Errors are normal. Corrections are helpful. Feedback is valuable. Practice helps you improve. Repeat. Errors are normal. Corrections are helpful. Feedback is valuable. Practice helps you improve. Excellent. Now let's practice. A common mistake section. Some learners say, I am mistake. But the correct sentence is, I made a mistake. Repeat. I made a mistake. Good. Some learners say, please explain me. But the correct sentence is, please explain it to me. Repeat. Please explain it to me. Good. Some learners say, I am agree. But the correct sentence is, I agree. Repeat. I agree. Good. Some learners say, I discussed about the topic. But the correct sentence is, I discussed the topic. Repeat. I discussed the topic. Excellent. Now put these into natural sentences. I made a mistake, but I learned from it. Please explain it to me again. I agree. With your idea, we discussed the topic yesterday. Very good. Now we will move to the final main section. This section is about deeper, more expressive vocabulary. The first word is appreciate. Appreciate means to be thankful for something or to understand its value. For example, I appreciate your help. Another example, I appreciate honest feedback. Repeat after me. Appreciate, appreciate. Now repeat. I appreciate your help. Again, I appreciate your help. Good. The next word is recognize. Recognize means to know or notice something. For example, I recognize that word. Another example, she recognized her mistake. Repeat after me. Recognize, recognize. Now repeat. She recognized her mistake. Again, she recognized her mistake. Good. The next word is realize. Realize means to understand something clearly, often after some time. For example, I realized that I needed more speaking practice. Another example, he realized his plan was not realistic. Repeat after me. Realize, realize. Now repeat. I realized that I needed more speaking practice. Again, I realized that I needed more speaking practice. Excellent. Recognize and realize are different. Recognize means to identify or notice. Realize means to understand. Listen, I recognize this word. I realize why it is useful. Repeat. I recognize this word. I realize why it is useful. Very good. The next word is reflect. Reflect means to think carefully about something. For example, I like to reflect on my progress. Another example, at the end of the day, I reflect on what I learned. Repeat after me. Reflect, reflect. Now repeat. I like to reflect on my progress. Again, I like to reflect on my progress. Good. The next word is meaningful. We used this word earlier. Let's use it again in a deeper way. Meaningful means important and full of value. For example, learning English has become meaningful to me. Repeat. Learning English has become meaningful to me. Again, learning English has become meaningful to me. Excellent. Now combine them. I appreciate my progress. I recognize my mistakes. I realize what I need to practice. I reflect on my learning. This makes the journey meaningful. Repeat. I appreciate my progress. I recognize my mistakes. I realize what I need to practice. I reflect on my learning. This makes the journey meaningful. Wonderful. Now let's practice a longer real-life conversation. This conversation is between two friends who are talking after an English class. How did you feel about today's lesson? I liked it. It was practical and easy to follow. Did you learn many new words? Yes, but more importantly, I learned how to use them. That makes a big difference. Exactly. Before, I memorized words, but I did not use them. What changed today? The examples were realistic. I could connect them to my life. That is important. Personal examples help memory. Yes, I realized that vocabulary should not stay in a notebook. Where should it go? Into conversations. I like that idea. I also recognized some of my mistakes. What kind of mistakes? Sometimes I use advanced words. without understanding the situation. That can happen. Now I want to be more precise. Good goal. And I want to stay consistent. Even short practice is valuable. I agree. Consistency is more important than intensity. That is a great sentence. Consistency is more important than intensity. Yes, remember that. I will. I appreciate your encouragement. You are welcome. Your progress is clear. Thank you. That gives me motivation. Now repeat the most useful lines. I learned how to use the words. The examples were realistic. I could connect them to my life. Vocabulary should not stay in a notebook. It should go into conversations. I recognized some of my mistakes. I want to be more precise. Short practice is valuable. Consistency is more important than intensity. I appreciate your encouragement. Your progress is clear. That gives me motivation. Excellent. Now let's do a final speaking practice. Answer after me. You can repeat my answer, or you can create your own. Question 1. What is your biggest challenge? In English, my biggest challenge is speaking confidently in real conversations. Repeat. My biggest challenge is speaking confidently in real conversations. Question 2. What is your priority? Right now, my priority is building a consistent speaking routine. Repeat. My priority is building a consistent speaking routine. Question 3. What makes a lesson effective? A lesson is effective when I can use the language in real life. Repeat. A lesson is effective when I can use the language in real life. Question 4. How do you overcome hesitation? I overcome hesitation by speaking slowly and staying composed. Repeat. I overcome hesitation by speaking slowly and staying composed. Question 5. Why is vocabulary important? Vocabulary is important because it helps me express precise ideas. Repeat. Vocabulary is important because it helps me express precise ideas. Excellent. Now let's review the most important vocabulary. Again, repeat after me. Precise, vague, clarify, assumption, perspective, insight, mention, suggest, recommend, respond, negotiate, compromise, considerate, impatient, anxious, composed, sincere, hesitant, confident, consistent, gradual, effective, efficient, strategy, priority, reasonable, realistic, flexible, adaptable, reliable, responsible, challenge, obstacle, overcome, solution, develop, strengthen, expand, transform, discussion, topic, opinion, agree, disagree, relief, frustration, determination, motivation, option, alternative, evaluate, decide, emphasize, highlight, summarize, conclude, cause, effect, influence, result, basic, advanced, complex, simple, thoughtful, honest, patient, curious, practical, useful, meaningful, valuable, routine, habit, maintain, improve, polite, casual, formal, appropriate, error, correct, feedback, appreciate, recognize, realize, reflect, excellent work. Now let's review through sentences. Repeat slowly. Please be precise. His answer was vague. Could you clarify your point? I made the wrong assumption. From my perspective, this is realistic. This lesson gave me new insight. She mentioned the meeting. I suggest practicing every day. I recommend learning words in sentences. I need to respond to this email. We need to negotiate the deadline. We found a compromise. That was very considerate. Do not be impatient with your progress. I feel anxious. Before speaking, I try to stay composed. Thank you for your sincere advice. I feel hesitant, but I can still speak. I am becoming more confident. Consistent practice creates progress. Improvement is gradual. This method is effective. This method is efficient. I need a clear strategy. Speaking practice is my priority. That is a reasonable idea. Be realistic about your goals. I need a flexible plan. I want to become an adaptable learner. This is a reliable method. A responsible learner reviews regularly. My biggest challenge is speaking naturally. Fear is a common obstacle I want to overcome. My hesitation. Daily practice is a simple solution. I want to develop my skills. Speaking practice strengthens confidence. Reading helps expand vocabulary. Practice can transform your English. We had a useful discussion. In my opinion, practice is important. I agree with you. I respectfully disagree. I felt relief. After the exam, learning can bring frustration. Determination helps me continue. Motivation helps me start. We have many options. Try an alternative. Evaluate your progress. Then decide what works. Excellent. Now one final shadowing paragraph. Listen first. I am learning advanced vocabulary because I want to communicate clearly. I do not want to memorize words and forget them. I want to use words in real conversations. I want to express my opinions with confidence. I want to explain my ideas with precision. I know my progress will be gradual, but I also know that consistent practice is effective. Every sentence I repeat strengthens my English. Every conversation gives me experience. Every mistake gives me feedback. And every day I become a little more confident. Now repeat with me. I am learning advanced vocabulary because I want to communicate clearly. I do not want to memorize words and forget them. I want to use words in real conversations. I want to express my opinions with confidence. I want to explain my ideas with precision. I know my progress will be gradual, but I also know that consistent practice is effective. Every sentence I repeat strengthens my English. Every conversation gives me experience. Every mistake gives me feedback. And every day I become a little more confident. Wonderful. Now let's close. Today's masterclass. Today, you practiced advanced English vocabulary in a natural and practical way. You learned words for clear thinking. You learned words for communication. You learned words for emotions. You learned words for work and study. You learned words for opinions, problems, progress, and real conversations. But remember this: advanced vocabulary is not about sounding difficult. It is about sounding clear. It is about choosing the right word. It is about understanding the situation. It is about expressing yourself with confidence. So after this lesson, do not only remember the word list, choose 5 words, write your own sentences, say them out loud, use them tomorrow, then come back and listen again. Each time you repeat this lesson, the words will feel more natural. Your pronunciation will become smoother. Your speaking will become more confident, and your English will become stronger. Thank you for practicing with me today, here on Fluent English in Minutes. If this lesson helped you, subscribe to the channel for more calm, practical, and powerful English lessons. Keep listening, keep repeating, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep going. Your English is growing, step by step, sentence by sentence, word by word. I will see you in the next lesson. Until then, keep practicing and speak with confidence.